What's up guys, today we are going to be talking about the easiest or the most beginner friendly Dota 2 heroes, or just the easiest overall. We're going to be talking about this because one, it's going to offer some form of information for people who are getting into the game and maybe want to start learning some new heroes and wondering which ones will be the best to start, but also it's just an interesting topic overall. So these are the top 5 Dota 2 easy heroes as of making this video. Now picking 5 is pretty difficult, so there will be some honourable mentions at the end, and of course there's going to be many different opinions on this topic, so please do comment your top 5 list of easy heroes in the comments as well. Finally, this is a brand new channel and I am slowly growing up the subscribers, so please do subscribe to the channel to help me out, but also I'll be posting very regular. Anyway, let's go. Okay, so what we're going to do is take these top 5 that I'm going to talk about and then individually discuss why these heroes are going to be good for a beginner player, or they're just nice and easy to play. What their kit has, what their skills are, why they don't really take much information to begin with, but that doesn't necessarily mean that these heroes don't have a higher skill cap than others. It just means they're nice and easy to get used to and understand how they work. We're going to start off with the Wraith King. Wraith King is a strength hero that attacks from melee distance. He is given 3 passive spells, however, one of the passives does have a separate active as well. But this makes this hero nice and easy to understand. His first ability is going to be a simple stun on a target. So it's a nice simple one-click to use ability, but when it lands on the target it will do damage and it will stun them, but as well as the initial damage when it lands, it will also deal a damage over time, and it also includes a slow after the stun as well. So it will stun the target and then the target will be slowed for a couple of seconds afterwards. Nice and easy to understand. The second ability is a passive lifesteal effect, which will give you 9%, 16%, 23%, and 30% depending on the level of each hit that you deal as lifesteal back. However, you can activate this and it will summon skeletons that will last for 40 seconds. However, any targets that these or the Wraith King kills during this duration will also summon more skeletons as well. Once the skeletons have been killed, they will respawn once and then continue on to be a pain in the ass. Other than that though, that is all this ability does. The next ability is called Mortal Strike and it deals critical damage of 150%, 190%, 230% or 270% depending on the actual level of the skill. It also has a cooldown, so it is a guaranteed crit whenever this does land. Again, this is a passive, so you don't have to worry about it. It just triggers whenever it is ready. The next one is Reincarnation. This is his ultimate, and what it does is it will bring you back to life after you have been killed. This has a fairly long cooldown, scaling from 200 seconds to 130 seconds and then 60 seconds at the max level. However, when you do die, any enemies around you will have a movement speed slow and an attack speed slow applied to them as well. So the reason Wraith King is the first hero on this list is because having a single target stun is nice and easy to manage. Having 3 passive abilities that you don't necessarily need to manage as well, but still getting benefits from, is obviously a lot easier to understand than managing many active abilities. And of course, having a backup live if you do die is definitely something that is nice and easy to fall back on. However, if you do get caught out of position and then you die once, it is going to be very easy for you to die twice, but the respawn timer does give your team a little bit of time to follow up and help you out. The next hero on my list is going to be the Drow Ranger. Drow Ranger is an agility hero attacking from ranged and has 3 active abilities and 1 passive ability. However, don't get too stressed out about the fact that it has 3 active abilities. The first one is called Frost Arrows that will apply a movement slow and a bonus damage to your attacks. This can be auto cast if you wanted to later on. However, if not, you just press the ability for every attack and it is just going to apply that. I would say most people will auto cast this later as the mana cost is very low. The second ability, which is called Gust, releases a wave that silences and knocks back your enemy. This is useful in a lot of situations as 1, it applies a silence of course, stopping enemies from casting spells. 2, it also does a knockback, so you can use it as an escape. If someone's chasing you, you can cast it on them and run away, or you can initiate a fight with this, meaning that the enemy can't cast any spells on you for the duration. Maxing out is 6 seconds. This is a super long duration for a silence. It is incredibly strong and very, very useful. The third ability is called Multi-Shot. What this is going to do is it will release a flurry of arrows that will increase your damage, but also it will shoot out in a cone shape. Now, what this is going to do is apply frost arrows to the target's hit, but it's also going to increase the amount of damage that it does. For example, the arrow-based damage bonus goes from 100% to 120%, 140% to finally a 160% buff. You could probably see this as Drow's early game wave clear, but also as a bit of a nuke as well, and obviously this can do a lot of damage in a fight later on in the game as well, as any heroes hit by this are going to be taking a lot of damage. Drow's ult is something that is nice and easy to understand and nice and easy to use. Depending on the level, you will have a percentage chance of getting a proc for bonus damage. This doesn't have a cooldown, it is purely just depending on chance per hit. And then also you will give yourself and allies agility bonus depending on your current agility. And it scales throughout each level. So level 1 will be 30% bonus agility, level 2 will be 40%, level 3 will be 50%. If an enemy does get close to you though, as in melee distance, then this ability does get disabled, but you do have a nice long attack range with this hero, so you can definitely keep your distance. And of course, having slows like frost arrows and stuff does help make that possible. So Drow Ranger is absolutely a nice beginner friendly carry in my opinion, and if you are wanting to learn the carry role, maybe you should take a look at this hero. Next up, we have a support by the name of Crystal Maiden. Now, anyone who's played a support has played Crystal Maiden at some point, let's be honest. However, this hero is nice and easy to get used to and has a very easy understanding of playing the hero. That being said, it is quite easy to die, but I think overall the kit makes a lot of sense, and for beginners, she is definitely a good starting point. Crystal Maiden is an intelligence support hero, and she does a nice amount of damage in the early game, and also has a passive ability that provides mana regen to yourself and your whole team, which is incredibly useful as well. That being said, the first ability is an AoE damage slow. It will also do an attack slow as well on the enemies too, but it is nice and easy to target and not too hard to understand. Anything in the circle when you place this will take damage, and then it will be slowed, and that is exactly how it works. The second one is called Frostbite, and this is a damage per second ability. However, this will root the target in place as well for a total duration of 3 seconds at the max level. It lasts a lot longer on creeps, being 10 seconds in total, meaning you can do a high amount of damage to any jungle creeps or anything like that to maybe get a bit of extra gold here and there. The next ability is the passive ability that will just give mana regen to allies. If you are closer to an ally, they will receive 3 times the amount, but it is a global thing overall. Personally, you will receive 6 times the actual amount, so you do end up getting a really good amount of mana regen. The last ability is one of people's most favorite reasons about Crystal Maiden, I would say, and that is her ultimate. Her ultimate is absolutely huge and is really hard to get off as well, but at the same time can be a game changer. This ability is called Freezing Field. Now, what this does is it will put a big circle around the Crystal Maiden, and you will be put into a channeling state, meaning if you get stunned during this, it will cancel it. If you get silenced during it will cancel it, all of this sort of stuff. However, the area around you is going to take random explosions of icy damage that will slow and deal big damage over 10 seconds. 10 whole seconds of massive damage. Now, these attacks basically rain down big icicles that will blow up and hit any enemies in the area that it can actually land on, and it does a great amount of damage and also slows the enemy too. That being said, because it is channeled and because it does a big amount of damage, the enemy will likely target you immediately to cancel this off. If you can pair this with like a Black King bar, or if you can do it in a place where they can't reach you, then obviously this can be absolutely game changing. Overall, Crystal Maiden's abilities are nice and easy to understand, so making her one of your early supports to learn is definitely one that I would recommend. The next hero is going to be mostly played in the off lane, but you will see him around other places as well, and that is going to be Bristleback. Bristleback is very much a very tanky hero, and he does fall under the strength class, and he is a melee as well. That being said, Bristleback only has 2 abilities that you will have to pay attention to. His third ability and his ultimate ability are both passives, so nice and easy to follow along and not really worry about too much. That being said, his first ability will allow you to apply nasal goo, absolutely delicious, to your enemy, which will apply a slow, but it will also reduce their armor as well. So they will be walking slower, and they will take more damage from any physical damage that they do take. Then the next ability is going to be Quill Spray. Quill Spray is something that will spray out loads of quills and deal physical damage to the target. Now, obviously pairing this with nasal goo is a good thing, but the more times that you can actually quill spray somebody, the more damage they're going to take. For example, the base damage is 25 at level 1, but if it stacks each time, it will add 28 damage. The stack durations last for 14 seconds, but reapplying this will reset the duration. So you do have a 3-second cooldown on this, allowing you to chase people down, applying the nasal goo to slow them every 1.75 seconds, and then spraying out quills at them every 3 seconds. You're going to be doing a lot of damage over time, which increases a hell of a lot over time as well. The next ability is called Bristleback. Bristleback means from the side and the back, your character will take way less damage. For example, from the side you will take from 8% at level 1 up to 20% damage reduction from the side, any abilities or any attacks that you take from that direction. And then from the back, it is 16%, scaling up to 40% damage reduction from anything you take from there too. However, For every 200 damage that you take, you will automatically fire another quill spray, which will not share a cooldown with the initial spell, meaning that every time you take damage or tank damage, you are going to be firing out more quills, dealing even more damage. If you take a huge amount of damage in one go, you will fire off multiple quills, meaning that you can stack up those in a fight a hell of a lot. Bristleback's ultimate is called Warpath, and this will allow you to increase your damage and your movement speed per stack. This means that every time you cast an ability, including from your passive from Bristleback as well, you will actually be able to get an increase in your damage and your movement speed every time this happens. At this ultimate's max level, you can have up to 10 stacks from this, and it will also increase your damage by 30, meaning you can get an increase of 300 damage, and of course 5% movement speed per stack as well, meaning you can get an increase of 50% movement speed too. This can make your character incredibly strong if you keep these stacks up during a fight, and overall, as you can tell, during a fight, Bristleback will just get harder and harder to kill, and he will deal more and more damage the longer the fight actually goes out. This hero is not too difficult to actually do really well with, but you have to be careful and not get too carried away thinking you are unkillable, as there are some counters to your hero in the game, so you have to be aware of those. However, he is definitely still a nice beginner-friendly hero that I will suggest checking out. Finally, we're going to talk about Sniper. Now, Sniper is an incredibly squishy, ranged hero. However, he attacks from incredibly far away, as his name may suggest, being Sniper. Sniper has 3 active abilities. However, one of these is tied in with a passive, meaning you also have 2 passive abilities as well. Now, that might sound a little bit confusing, but we'll get to it, and it's not too hard to understand. The first one is called Shrapnel, which you will target on the ground, and it will do a bit of damage in a circle as shrapnel rains down on that area. Any targets in the area will take damage over time, and also have their movement speed slowed. This is incredibly good for clearing waves, but also does a lot of damage added up over time in fights. Headshot is his next ability, which will increase your accuracy, giving you a chance to deal extra damage and knock back his enemies. Headshots briefly slow the enemy and movement and attack speeds by 100% as well. So this will give you bonus damage per hit on a 40% chance, and it will scale up to higher damage every single time you level it up. The knockback distance is only 10 units, so not very far, and also the slow duration is only 0.5 seconds, but because it's a 40% chance, you have a good chance to keep triggering these over and over again, dealing a lot more damage and also making it a lot harder for enemies to reach you. Next up, you have Take Aim, which is the second passive ability, but this also has an active tied in with it as well. This is going to be what gives you your extra bonus attack range, scaling from 100 at level 1 all the way to 400 at the max level. For a new player, those numbers might not mean a lot, but your base attack range is 550. So you're almost getting double range out of this, and then you can pair this with items in game as well to further increase your attack range. This makes Sniper very hard to actually get to in fights, as he's very much in the back, dealing a hell of a lot of damage behind his team. That being said, the active on this will increase your headshot chance to 100%, meaning the bonus damage, slows, and knockbacks you get will be guaranteed for every hit and only last for 3 seconds. This does have a cooldown, but it's not overly too long, and obviously this is going to be a massive increase in damage. As for your final ability, which is your ultimate, you lock onto a target and you shoot a big, massive hit. Basically, it is like a big snipe. You can't miss it. It's 100% accuracy unless people dodge it with like a blink dagger or a smoke of deceit, things like this. But this will deal high damage, and it has a cast range of 3000. It takes 2 seconds to charge up, and then it will fire off the attack. You can use this to get a last hit on people. You can use this to harass people. You can use this to just be a pain in the ass. This ability is really useful, and of course does deal a high amount of damage the higher level it does get. Overall, Sniper doesn't have too much to him other than get last hits, get items, and then just shoot the enemy from the back lines. That is pretty much how Sniper goes. You want to be in the back, and you want to just shoot people as much as you possibly can without letting them get to you. Drop the shrapnel down for AoE damage, and then just go absolutely crazy, shooting them as much as you can until they're all dead. Okay, so that is going to be the top 5 that I wanted to mention that I would personally recommend a new player do try out and check out if they are looking at heroes in those situations. That being said, there is many mentions that could have been mentioned in here too, and so we're going to quickly cover those and a quick explanation of why those have been mentioned as well. So we have Abaddon, which has an ultimate that when you trigger it, it pretty much just re-heals him for any damage you take, which of course is very user-friendly. Hero Axe is very beginner-friendly, as he just has a way to deal with a ton of damage. Taking more damage basically ends up making you you deal more damage, so overall not too difficult to play. Sven has a single target stun, and then he just has a few buffs to himself and his allies, but he has a big cleave radius, and he is more or less basically blink in, stun the enemy, and just absolutely beat the crap out of all of them. Tidehunter is a very tanky strength hero, and he has an ultimate that is a big AoE radius around him that will stun anyone in the area. Not too hard to learn and very useful for beginners. Next up we have Vengeful Spirit. Vengeful Spirit is a pretty simple support. She can deal a nice single target stun to an enemy hero, and she also has the ability to swap people in the position where she is. So she can swap places with the enemy or an ally, which can be used of course to save an ally or to initiate a fight, bringing an enemy into your own team and getting them killed nice and quickly. Viper is an agility hero which will deal a lot of poison damage over time, but also nice and easy to play as he is rather tanky and his abilities aren't too hard to understand. Lion has a stun and a hex, meaning a lot of control, and is really not all difficult to play. His ultimate deals a massive amount of single target damage until you have an upgrade to make it AoE, but nice and easy to play, doesn't require much items, and gives you a lot of control over the enemy. Lich is a nice simple support to play as well, as he does provide a good amount of magic damage, not overly too complicated to use, and his ultimate does provide your team with a hell of a lot of team fight, which is incredibly useful. Finally, we have Ogre, and Ogre is incredibly tanky early on. He has a single target stun, he has a damage over time slow, and that is pretty much as Ogre goes. He buffs your allies as well, and there's not too much to think about with this. It is pretty straightforward, but a very useful hero to learn as well. So hopefully you guys found something useful out of this, and if you are looking to get into the game, then these are the heroes that I would probably suggest taking a look at when you do get started. But for the people who are here just because they thought the video would be interesting, let me know in the comments which 5 heroes, or even go as far as 10 if you would like, are the most easy heroes in your opinion that people should get started with when they join the game. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. And I'll catch you all in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.